Welcome students to this particular session webinar. In this session, we are planning to discuss about how we have to prepare our slides for our seminar presentation. In the past webinar by Dr. Rijo Thomas, you have seen many aspects, technical side of selecting topics, uh, the way of evaluation of seminar. So those kind of aspects were discussed by in the webinar by Dr. Rijo. Now we are not speaking about curriculum. Now we are speaking about how you have to prepare your content of your slide when you are preparing for a seminar. So these are the aspects we are going to discuss. Before I go to this presentation, I would like to tell students that you can always give me feedback when I ask you questions. As we see in our classes, you can respond through the chat box so that we can interact. You can pose your questions also in the chat box. I'll also see once in a while. So we can have interaction during the session. That is one thing. Second thing is about conducting or preparing yourself for online presentation. In fact, this content is not meant for online presentation. I'm actually the content is meant for preparing the content of your slide only. However, mostly we have to present our seminar through Google Meet only. So we should have an awareness of how we have to make ourselves ready to make a better presentation through the Google Meet platform or any other online platform. For that, there are few preliminary requirements you have to uh, bear in mind. One thing is you have to make yourself available in a location where sufficient internet connectivity is there. So when you are presenting, you should be presenting, you are the resource person. You see the case here I am speaking, if my internet connectivity is gone, now you are in dark, you don't know what is happening. So the resource person is the key person. So the key person should make themselves clear and sure that they are in a position where wireless Wi-Fi connectivity or internet connectivity is better. If possible, keep some standby also. I have kept my mobile phone tethering as a standby. Second thing is there should be sufficient lighting. That is, preferably you go and sit in a location where there is light falling towards your face, not from the back side. From the front side, there should be sufficient light so that it will be visible. The third thing is, as we have done in the initial case, I have asked Fahad sir whether am I audible, whether my position is correct, etc., etc. So those kind of things. So if you bring some this audio device like mic, or if you have a speaker for feedback, you make sure that it is working and check the audibility even before you start the actual timing. Another thing is make sure that there is a good background for you if possible. Uh, then it will be better because background, if it is a nature or something like that, if you are standing in a ground and all that, attention may go there. So that should not happen. Always better to be sit somewhere and don't move anywhere. I am seeing some presentation in case of some students, because of lack of internet connectivity, they will move from one location to another location during the presentation itself. Don't do that. So you make yourself sit somewhere and uh, make the presentation. So I have told you that connectivity, internet connectivity is one aspect. Second aspect is the lighting. Third aspect I said is sound. Okay. Now there is one more aspect here. You have to position yourself even before you present. I have asked first whether my position is correct. So how do you position yourself? If you are doing in a mobile phone, or even if you are presenting from a laptop, you sit in a position such that you are almost one hand distance from the screen, from the lens. That is the ideal distance so that the focusing will be better. Second thing is, as much as possible, you use the landscape mode like this rather than the portrait position. Landscape mode will be better appealing in a presentation rather than portrait mode. So that is another aspect. And a very, very important thing is you should have a device in parallel to you to count the timing. You should know the timing. So in this case, we have started exactly at 3 o'clock, and our plan is to finish the entire session by 4 o'clock. So my plan is to finish the session by 3:45 to 3:50, and 10 minutes for discussion if at all there are questions. So that's my plan. So I should know what is the time currently. So based on that, I have to plan myself for the presentation. You know that, if it's an online meeting, we don't have control on physical situations, and we cannot take people or add people to the group physically. When we do it in online conditions, if we do not start on time or if you do not end on time, that may affect many other situations. So always be precise on timing in the case of online presentations. That's very important thing. And being you are the listeners, no problem. When you are the presenter, you should be in the screen at least 5 minutes before the session and make everything clear so that you can start the session on time. You should be ready by the time. So that is information. So make the background sound, lighting, everything is correct, and then keep the timing, then you go ahead. So that is a thing. And you have to practice by looking on the lens itself. So if you have a mobile phone, mainly the mobile phone will have a lens on side, on corner. We will be looking on the screen, but for the viewer, they are looking from this side because the camera is there. So you adjust yourself so that you are actually looking on the camera and then presenting it. But that needs extensive practice. You have to intentionally correct it. So even I am missing it. So I am speaking to you by looking on the screen, not on my video that is seen on the screen. So you have to practice that aspect also to make your presentation initially better. These are the background. With this background, let me go into the content of our presentation. Now, the presentation is on while preparing the content of your slide. That is, our exclusive plan is when, because you already have some topic for your presentation seminar, and you already are into the topic, you know what are the things to be done or included in the presentation. So those kind of background is there. And with that background, you are going and you are opening your PPT or you are making your presentation. At that time, when you make your content, what are the aspects you have to think of? That is the thing that is discussed in this presentation. In this presentation, I have placed the contents like this. I'll speak about the method of preparing slide, its appearance, the method of preparing the content, like how will you prepare the introduction slide, how will you prepare the content styling, how will you present the concepts, how will you cite, and how will you give references, acknowledgement, etc. Those kind of aspects will be discussed in this. Before we start any presentation, like background I have told you, before we start preparing our slide, we should have assessed the knowledge level of audience on the topic of presentation must be. So that is very important because we are presenting for a set of audience. We have to give at least minimum 1 or 2 additional new knowledge during our presentation. So if something that is not for them is presented, it's not good. So you have to assess approximately what can be the approximate knowledge level of students or audience who are. Then you prepare the content. The content of presentation must be intended to give additional knowledge to the audience. Though our seminar presentations evaluate your skill in presentation, your skill in preparing documents, etc., but it is also meant for giving additional knowledge to the listeners. In every presentation, you have to give an outline of the presentation. I have given you the outline for the presentation because the audience should be arranged. Their mind should be oriented to get the content of the presentation. So outline is very important. Again, if possible, convey the approximate duration of the presentation. This is very important. That is, when we being a presenter, I may be interested to give the presentation, and the listener may not have that interest, and they may be thinking when this webinar is going to be ended. So that may be the worry from the other side. We have to understand them, and we have to provide the information. But this duration, when you comment about the approximate duration, you have to be extensively planned for stopping or concluding the work within the time. It's very important. If possible, only if possible, you announce the duration of presentation. Otherwise, you leave it. But if you announce it, it is better, but that needs extensive planning and expertise. Okay. In any presentation, seminar, you can avoid repeating a concept. In classrooms, we generally repeat the concept to make sure that the students are listening to us or they are understanding. But in webinar or in the seminars, you can need not repeat the concept. They will hear it. Now, about the content of the slides, general information. Generally, in any presentation, these are some of the rules followed by any professionals. However, I am also giving you few information about how you will have to design the content of your slide, general information. The slides need to be clean slides. That's very important. That is, there should not be too attractive or a lot of background colors and all. That will, because if there are more colors, background is very attractive or like a kind of colors. Its problem is the attention will go to the background rather than the content. In the presentation, follow any particular style for the font, color, or pattern. Okay. And size. Size means font size, font style. In this case, I have followed a particular font. You can see that my title slides are having red color. In between, I have used black. In between, I have used maroon, a deep red color. And I have followed this entire pattern throughout my presentation. So just by seeing this, another person can understand that, oh, this is a slide typically prepared by myself and for a particular purpose. So I have used a font throughout. I have used a color pattern throughout. I have used a font size also throughout. Again, I cannot tell you exclusively like this should be the size of the font. You can use any font size, but make sure that it is visible. Because some fonts, Calibri, say Calibri, for Calibri, maybe 20 may be a good visible thing, but some other font, even 20 won't be visible. So you can choose appropriate font, but make sure that visibility of the content is good. Now, when you present the seminars through your mobile phone or through laptop by online means, the students or the faculty, they will be attending the seminar through mobile phone or laptop. So your font size, styling, etc. should be such that even a person who is seeing through the mobile phone can view the content comfortably. So you plan yourself such that the content is visible. The image color, image size, etc. are very important. You place images. I have seen many cases where the slide will be empty almost because there will be a figure on one side and there will be text, one or two texts over here. The entire slide will be vacant. You can utilize by enlarging the image size if at all needed, but I'm not asking you to fill the slide with the image, but if you can place it appropriately, then it will be better. Then you have to thoroughly verify for spelling mistakes in the slide. Do you see any problem in the slide? If you see any problem in the slide, you please put it in chat box. Let me see your feedback. So this is a slide. Do you see any problem with the slide? Let me see your feedback. Exactly. Everyone is telling that there is spelling mistake in mistake itself, right? Spelling is also mistake. Mistake is also mistake. This is the problem with the presentation. We have to thoroughly verify for spelling mistakes because audience are very good in identifying mistakes in us, and they will focus only on the mistakes. And whatever we tell beyond that, it won't be going to their mind. So we have to make ourselves very clear, and we have to confirm that there is no spelling mistake present in the slide. Okay, it's very important aspect. Slide must be numbered. This is also very important because in this slide I have given that there are four, it's a slide number 4. Out of that there are 23 slides. This is also another information that is given for the presenter. That is, if at all you have to ask certain question about any of the slides, they can point to that particular slide based on the number. In this case, I have given this number 23.
Sir, slide is not visible.
Slide is not visible?
No, sir.
Okay. So I was telling about numbering of slides. That means numbering is very important. And if possible, you include how many number of slides are there in this presentation. That means, again, it's a way of preparing the listeners that, only 23 slides are there. So, okay, it may be over by within 45 minutes. That may be the calculation. So we have to think from their side also when we prepare the content of our slides. Slides must be numbered. In our regulation, if the slide is not numbered, the presentation will be disqualified. So make sure that you are numbering the slide. Again, give suitable title for every slide. It's a very, very important aspect. We are generally seeing certain things like, in the previous slide, I'm telling the preamble. Now I am telling that the content of the slide. See, even during the presentation, there can be network loss in between. If the headline, the title is not given here, the problem is the person who re-entered back to the webinar may not understand on what topic I'm speaking. So even in a real-time situation, like in a physical class also, we cannot expect that the audience will listen us completely throughout the period. So when they come back with their memory to the class, if they are taking back their mind to the class for your presentation, then when they look on the slide, there should be some title so that they can orient themselves and they can then follow from that moment onwards. So it's very important that you have to provide a slide title for every slide, and it should be a suitable slide. Even if the slide, the title of the next slide is the same as that of this slide, you have to show again there, and you can put it in bracket like continued. That means this is the continuation of the previous slide. So that information should be given when you prepare the slide. Now, I'd like to tell you another aspect. See, in this diagram, I have kept the image, an image here, right? This image, I have kept it intentionally because I had a feel that this slide seems to be very, very boring, or some monochromatic or kind of monotonous kind of slide. So I thought of improving the visual aesthetics of this slide. I just introduced an image which may be some way connected with this presentation or the particular slide. Why I'm telling this? Because even if it is a technical presentation, if you can include some images which are relevant to the slide, it may give a different appearance. I will show you the difference when I remove the slide, remove the image, how it will look like. See, it will look like this. This looks like a monotonous kind of slide. If this is a condition, this looks like a rich kind of slide. So if you can include a relevant image on the slide, then it may be better so that you can capture the attention of the audience for a longer period. So this is the difference. There is no image, so that's gone. Again, I am not telling you to compulsory provide an image. If you can provide it, it is better. That's what. But the image should be relevant for the slide. Now, let us see how can we begin a presentation. These are my suggestions based on my experience. This is there is no hard rule for doing the beginning like this, but I have observed many presentations and I have seen that if the presentation is begun with a particular style, that would be better. My idea is when you begin the presentation, try to start the presentation from a topic which is familiar to the audience and must be related to the content of the presentation. That is, you will be taking some value, some presentation, a seminar topic. That topic is an advanced topic. Advanced means there is an existing knowledge for your friends in the class. So if you can connect the existing knowledge and the growth from the existing knowledge to the your new domain, then it would be a better experience. It will help the audience to orient their thinking towards your domain. So it is a psychological way of attracting the attentiveness of your listeners to the content or to the topic. For example, here, my aim is to present about magnetoroyological fluid, features and possibilities. This is the aim of my presentation or the title of my seminar. I have a feel that students are not, or the audience are not familiar with the concept magnetoroyological fluid. But I know that people are aware of the concept fluid. And so I thought I will start from the concept fluid initially. Then I categorize the fluids like compressible fluids, incompressible fluids. And I'll categorize like compressible fluids are like this, incompressible fluids are in this domain. Okay. Then by telling all these things, then I'll slowly go to one topic where I can connect magnetoroyological fluid. So when I speak about fluid, I will speak about all the familiar fluids like water, blood, body fluids, tomato ketchup, paint, tar, this metal undergoing deformation. These are all treated as fluid at that moment because they can flow at a particular moment. So I am bringing all of them to different examples of fluid, or I am bringing them to the domain of fluid. Then I will release what is the meaning of magnetoroyological fluid or where the magnetoroyological fluid will come. So when you take this kind of presentation, this kind of root information, it is a better idea if you give the source from where you have taken the concept, because concept-based root concepts will have definition. You should not go away from the definition. So even if you make some error unknowingly, it is a better idea you give, copy the definition or concept as such and give the citation like this. Another example for beginning. My talk is on fluidized bed finishing. Are you aware of what is meant by fluidized bed? I think the audience is aware of the concept finishing in manufacturing process. So my idea is now I'll tell finishing process which are related with the fluidized bed. Actually, the presenter knows that fluidized bed finishing is a non-conventional kind of finishing process, which are not known for the audience right now. But I know that audience are aware of this finishing process. So what I'll do, I will start with the concept of finishing, and I'll categorize the traditional finishing process, non-traditional finishing process, and I will categorize it by giving suitable examples. Out of that, I will introduce what is fluidized bed machining. So by seeing the slide, the audience will understand that, oh, fluidized bed finishing is a kind of non-traditional kind of finishing process, which does not use liquid carrier. There can be some other kind of carrier. Here I said like abrasives are held in air. So by seeing all this information, you can understand that this is a process that is a non-traditional process that make use of abrasive, and abrasives are held in air for finishing process. So if I can bring the people to the domain with a single slide from a non-domain, it will be better that others can follow you further. So beginning of a presentation is a very important factor. You can begin the presentation in any way as you wish, but beginning should be such that you should take the audience to the presentation. That's very important. Another commonly seen feature in the presentation is that people use short forms. We are very much interested to use abbreviation short forms. See, now there is another question you have to respond in the chat box. That is, a student starts a presentation and the title is seen like this: a presentation on fuzzy PWM PID control of SMA muscle pair in an artificial finger. So this is the title. What the audience will understand, that's very important, right? We are giving some terms. For the presenter, PWM, PID, SMA are very much known for him, because he has been working on the seminar topic for long period. These words are very familiar for him. That is not the case with the audience. Just for the sake of a response, can you write what is SMA in the chat box? What do you understand from SMA? If you do not understand, just write you don't understand that. Just let me see what's the feedback. What is SMA here? But many of you are telling that you don't know what is SMA. Okay. Can you write what is PID? PID? What is PID? So in this, they say that it's a PWM PID control. Have you heard of the abbreviation PID? Okay, no problem. I am not asking, evaluating your knowledge. This problem happens. I just want to confirm that this problem happens when you show this kind of abbreviation at the title slide itself. Never do that. Expand the non-universal short forms and non-universal abbreviations during the first occurrence itself. If it is occurring for the first slide in the title slide, you have to write completely. And if you want to use the PWM here stands for pulse width modulation. So if you want to use PWM as an abbreviation, you have to write it pulse width modulation as such, and in bracket you can write PWM. Otherwise, don't use it. Similarly, SMA stands for shape memory alloy. But even if people know about SMA is shape memory alloy, it is not clear from the slide that SMA stands for shape memory alloy, because SMA can be abbreviation for anything else also that is said in the content of the your presentation. So it is always better, do not use abbreviation in the first occurrence. Always show the expanded form in the first occurrence. That's another information you had to bear in mind. Another commonly seen practice in the presentation is when you want to explain certain concepts, you generally will fill the entire slide with the content, and your plan is to read the content because you have not practiced sufficiently to speak based on the keywords or titles that you place on the slides. So you see, I have the entire slide is filled with content, and your plan is to read the content. The problem is, even if you read the content, the audience will not read it along with you. I'll tell you a typical example, a very common example that I'm telling you. All of you are seeing news channels, right? Nowadays, we know that there is a news reader. A reader will be reading the news. You can see 3 scrolls at the bottom, like main news, sub news, some other news, breaking news, etc., etc. See, now here onwards, you just observe whether you are seeing the scroll or are you hearing the news. Can you hear the news and see the scroll simultaneously? Not possible. So if you want to convey something with the help of during your presentation, either you speak or you show, right? So when I speak, it's obvious that I don't want to convey anything about the slide. So that's why I'm speaking now. Otherwise, I will have to stop. If the audience is supposed to read the content, you have to stop and let the audience read it. You don't read along with that. Whatever be the case, it is a worst practice to fill the slide with content like this with an idea of reading the content for the sake of your support. It's not good. Avoid that. Okay. So avoid filling of slides with the text and contents. Avoid reading the entire text unless it is essential. That means in certain cases, it will be needed to read the entire text as such. I will give an example now. So this is another presentation, an example for presentation where need of the complete statement is shown. Here I am speaking about intellectual properties, IP. Intellectual property is actually a legal kind of topic, law kind of topic. And we know that in legal statements, if the statement, one or two statement words are missing, the total meaning of the statement will be lost. So in such cases, you cannot leave words in the statement. You have, in such cases, you have to bring the entire article or entire law as such, and you have to read it completely as such. Then only the information transferred will be true and correct. Similarly, if you bring definitions from textbook, you can show the definitions completely and you can read it if you want. Similarly, if you want to place the quotations, statements of another person or from other source, you do not have the right to change it. You have to show it as such on the presentation. So there are cases though that generally in the technical presentation, it is not a good practice to use or fill the slide and reading it. Another very important aspect, even if I speak about this, many people may not understand or may not follow this. Even we can experience this particular presentation. Like, our friends say, I bet that you will make this mistake. The mistake is, I have told you that there should be a title and that should be suitable for the content of the slide. Now, there is a slide, one example here. This is one slide where the title is Advantages of Pulse Width Modulation, PWM. It's a very good title. Now, the presenter has written like PWM feedback system belongs to the field of power electronics. Okay, having mixed with features of continuity. You read the second statement. I am not reading it. You read it. The average value of, you read it. Do you find any problem in this title and the content of the slide? Just look onto the slide and try to identify yourself if there is any problem with in the slide. Here, the problem is the title is Advantages of Pulse Width Modulation. The presenter is not speaking about advantages. The advantage, only one advantage is said, and that is here. So the title should be wrong here. You have to choose a correct title. If you give like features of pulse width modulation, this is fine. That's an okay title. But definitely the slide is not speaking about advantages. Instead, it speaks about the features. So when you give a title, the title should be suitable for the content. Similarly, you read the introduction slide. All of you will be making an introduction slide like this. There will be an introduction slide, and you will write many things like this. I'll just read it, okay? This introduction slide is a technical field in which geotechnics is fused with mechatronics. Automatic control of machines automatically evaluates the properties and conditions of the ground. Then it determines the optimum controlling method. So the presenter may have idea about the expansion of this kind of key statements, no problem at all. But for a viewer, is there an idea on what topic he is speaking on, or otherwise what concept he is introducing here? Is there any idea from the slide? All of us will start an introduction with a introduction slide, and we will place statement like this. We have a feel that, okay, since I know that, and since I am speaking, the audience will also understand this. Actually, it is wrong. You have to write specifically. Rather, you can write introduction, no problem. If I write introduction to geomechatronics, it's a topic, okay? If I write here introduction to geomechatronics, then after you listen that word geomechatronics, then you can connect all these statements with geomechatronics. So when you give the title, it should be suitable for the content. You have to make sure that it's suitable for the content. For that, what you have to do is, after making the slides, you just show it to a third person, a friend, and get the feedback and correct yourself. Correct the slide so that it is better. Another example of content and title is, this is the original slide. That is, speaks about shape memory alloy. Here SMA is started. That's a mistake. That is, it should have been written here. SMA should have been written here. Then SMA is fine. So that correction is done. So in this slide, shape memory alloy, it speaks about many concepts. The same slide I have modified like this. Like, it speaks about what is shape memory alloy, one of the primary candidates of artificial finger muscles. Materials are typically made of nickel titanium alloys. So these are the features or some aspects of shape memory alloy. Then it is speaking about shape memory effect and shape memory alloy. In this slide, everything is mixed without any categorization. In this slide, it is categorized and presented. So when you make a content for a particular slide, if you can categorize it, then the meaning will be, communication will be better. The title of the presentation or the slide should flow into the content. That is, you read like this: shape memory alloy is one of the primary candidates. Shape memory alloy materials are typically made of nickel and titanium alloys, etc. So if that's the case, it is fine. In this case, another example, this is a very common mistake that again we do. Geomechatronics, this is a slide. In this slide, they speak about, in the construction of structures with geotechnical materials, they should be compacted for making stable structures. This slide speaks about a vibratory roller in soil compaction. Okay. So when we hear the word vibratory roller, soil compaction, etc., etc., can you imagine how the vibratory roller will look like? All of us have a feel that roller means something, right? Rolling something. Actually, the roller is this item. This is the vibratory roller that is mentioned in this. But by seeing the slide, nobody can correlate between this. Many of us will do this, Many of us will explain everything in one slide and we'll keep the figure on the next slide. That is wrong. If you keep the explanation or description and the figure on that, very importantly, you should write here vibratory roller here. Then vibratory roller, if it is written here, then the idea of the figure is clear. So if you want to connect the text and the figure, provide both the text and the figure on the same slide itself, then provide the slide title also. It's very important. Caption for the figures and tables are very important. Now, I'll tell you a very interesting kind of error that we make in our presentation. Can you read this first statement? Because I have a feel that you know about water jet machining, abrasive water jet machining process. Read this first statement, and if you identify any mistake in the statement, please write it in the chat box. Read the statement that I have circled with the red color. Then you see, is there any error or problem with the statement? Water jet is a tool used in machine shops to cut virtually any material with a very high pressure stream of water and abrasive. So I will explain this, the problem with the presentation. See, when you take the content from many locations, we may not verify the technical aspect of the content. Here, we know that water jet means water and jet. It's a tool, fine, it's a correct, okay? That can be used in machine tools also. Is it possible to cut virtually any material with water jet? Not possible. If you want to cut metals, you have to use abrasive water jet. In fact, the presenter wishes to convey about abrasive water jet machining. With abrasive water jet machining, this statement may be approximately correct. Still, virtually any material means it's a wrong information. Okay, because when you speak it, this information is passed to some 70 students who are listening it, and they will also think that this is right. Again, see, with a high velocity, cut with any material with high pressure stream of water. You have learned about abrasive water jet machining. You know that the water will be passed through the nozzle, and there will be high velocity jet generated here, and the high velocity jet can be used to cut material. Is it high pressure or high velocity that causes removal of material? It is velocity that causes removal of material. So again, technically this statement is wrong. Again, water jet is a statement started, then stream of water and abrasive. Actually, if it was abrasive water jet, then it is water and abrasive. Here only water jet is said. So only water is suitable. That means this statement is outrightly wrong. So when you take content from other sources, you have to read through the statements and ensure yourself that the technical meaning conveyed by the statement is right. We should not give wrong, incorrect information there. Again, another mistake that we do is we have a figure here, we have some labels here, but when we write in the text, we don't use these kind of words. We will be using alternative terms here. So the listeners can never connect the words, say mixing chamber is here. You don't see any mixing chamber here. Actually, mixing chamber is this location. It is not shown. Then it is telling like an abrasive feed unit. There is no abrasive feed unit, but there is a flow of abrasive. So if you are showing a figure with a label should be there, but you have to use the same word itself in the text. Otherwise, others cannot understand what you are speaking. Again, I'll tell you one example for using visuals. Everyone says that visuals are very important. If you want to convey a concept, I'll give example. Like if you want to convey the concept of like biogas plant, then this kind of figure will be sufficient. If your idea is to show the approximate appearance or view of the plant, this is better. See, this is an example where there is a strain gauge is placed along with a coin. So if you keep this kind of photograph, the viewers can understand that, oh, strain gauge will look like this compared to a non-direction size. So in some cases, figures will be better. Some cases, photograph will be better. Some cases, scale should be better. So appropriately, you choose what should be the right kind of method to be used. Citing is another aspect. Citing is another aspect where you can give credit to, that is, source author, from where you have taken the figure. It should be given. Okay. Even if you take a figure and if you modify it, you should give the credit to them. Giving credit means, there are two aspects. One is we are respecting the original work. Second thing is, if at all there is some error in our content, the responsibility go to another person. So you don't have a responsibility. So always give citing. There are many kinds of citing people use. In our college, we follow citing like this. They use, we call it as Harvard style. The first name of authors and the year. That is the styling that we use in our college. So this is the styling that is given in our website also. This is another kind of styling, reference and citing given by some other presenters, like author and year that is given. Along with that, the front page of the textbook or whatever source from where the image has been taken. So that can also be given like that. So this is another kind of styling where numbers will be given. Numbers will be given like this in square bracket. But when you give numbers, it's very important that numbers should be given in an order. First reference should be given number 1. Second figure should be given number 2. You cannot give number in any order. You should keep the numerical order itself. Every presentation should have a summary and conclusion. Okay, there is a difference between summary and conclusion. The summary means whatever I have told in the presentation is a summary. Conclusion is what are the things I infer from the presentation. When I speak about macro-rheological fluid, I'll tell that smart rheological fluid has an excellent potential for industrial application, etc., etc. That is not said in the syllabus, in the presentation, but the content, the conclusion is that that can be used for many other applications. Again, arranging reference is very important. If we use this kind of author and year as a style for our presentation or our articles, then you have to arrange the reference in the alphabetical order. See, F, G, J, J, okay, like that you have to arrange it. If the numbering style is followed in your presentation, you have to give order the references in the order of their occurring, or the number itself. So if the author and year is used, then alphabetical order, there is no number. If numbering is given, this numbering should be given in the reference. But we do not use this style in our college for our department. We use the previous one with the author, the Harvard style. It is always a good practice to express your gratefulness for the persons who have supported the presentation or work without taking any financial benefit or taking any benefit. If you pay for them, you don't have to acknowledge. If not, it is a better practice to show your courtesy to them by including acknowledgement in the presentation. I would like to acknowledge my professor and one of the professors who has retired from our own college, and my friends in one of my lab, the friends in Department of Mechanical Engineering, and another friend from an R&D organization. They have given me a lot of information for preparing this particular content. So I acknowledge their valuable input, and I am acknowledging them during my presentation. Now I am coming to the summary of this. How to tune the content of the technical presentation was a summary. I have told you how to begin the presentation. I have told you the possibilities of misinterpretation of data. I have also told you the possibility to convey wrong information. Use of proper visual is very important. I have told you it is important to give citations, and the way of presenting references and way of presenting gratitude also. Conclusion is that the need of technical presentation is to transfer additional knowledge to the audience in prescribed time. Contents must be suitably included in the slide so that it make the presentation effective. So these are the conclusions. So I have concluded based on the content of the slide. Now, I would like to place a time for your discussion or question. If you can have any question, I can answer that. Almost 10 minutes left. If you have any question, please ask. Sir, what should be the size of the font while preparing the slide? That's a question. That's why I said, depending on the kind of font that you use, the size can be different. See, in a classroom, almost around 3 to 5 meters away from the board, the viewers are seeing a presentation. At that distance, the things should be visible. In our presentation, in the webinars like this, may be presented through a mobile phone. In that case also, if it should be visible. So visibility is more important rather than the size or font type. So after you make the presentation, you just show it to your friend and verify whether the other friend is comfortable with the style and the font. That's a better practice. Acknowledgement slide after conclusion. Yes, acknowledgement, actually conclusion is part of our presentation. Acknowledgement is actually contributors of the entire content. So with that conclusion, the presentation is over. Then we place the acknowledgement. That should be the way. Minimum and maximum time of presentation, those kind of aspects will be circulated by the advisor. Typically, it is 15 minutes for you. Those details will be given as a circular through your advisor. The image, Aromel is asking, the image you added in the slides in the first and second, Did you make it for the presentation or taken from somewhere? Actually, I have taken it from somewhere, some location. So there are many sites where we can use copy left kind of figures. That is not copyrighted figures. We can use that. No problem. You can search in website. You can use it. We can make it if you want. We can bring it also from any source if it is not offending the intellectual property right of others. Is there any number of limit for the number of slides? That's what. Please refer the guidelines. I don't remember what are said in the guidelines. Ashwin is asking, is there any standard font that we should use? See, based on my observation, I prefer round fonts like Arial, Tahoma, those kind of fonts I prefer, rather than using Times New Roman. Times New Roman is a sharp font. So generally, I do not feel attractive for the Times New Roman. I prefer the round fonts. Anyway, there is no rule like that, but you can use any font. The round font would be better without edges. Okay, there is a question. While presenting in current situation, is it a must that we should sit and present? Yes, it's very important. Because your movement can always distract your audience. If you want to make your presentation effective, you have to be stable. Stable in terms of internet connectivity, stable in terms of your position, your movement, sound, everything. First, you have to be stable, then only listeners can comfortably listen that. Otherwise, it is a huge disturbance for them. Sir, what if at the time of presentation we face network issue? That's we don't have control over that. Don't worry about those kind of things. There can be error. That's why I said, even I am keeping another phone standby so that I can come back to the situation as fast as possible. So there can be problem in between, but there should be a mean to communicate this to the audience, because audience will not be knowing whether you are presenting or their network is wrong. No idea for anybody. So it is better you make yourself available in a better network area. If something goes wrong, don't worry about that. Situations are like that. We can manage. So make a mind to manage the situations. A reference should be last. After summary and conclusion, a reference. Reference can be placed even after acknowledgement, because once we see the reference, generally people feel that that is over. So if you want to show the acknowledgement, people should listen that, then place the acknowledgement before the reference. That's a better position. The reference after summary and conclusion. Yes, reference should be the last one. A reference, okay. Now time is almost 3:58. I have 2 more minutes. Now I will like to tell you something. Listen me. In my presentation, I have made a planning to finish the presentation before 4 o'clock. And I know how many questions that can happen during the session. In fact, you do not have any idea how many topics I have skipped to maintain my timing, right? But the listeners will feel that, okay, it is complete. But only the presenter knows what are the things left in the presentation. Why I'm telling this? Because many of the students, while presenting the seminars, will be going in a hurry to complete the presentation at some point of time. By seeing the hurry, the audience will feel that, oh, so many contents are to be pumped. And with that idea, they will lose the attentiveness to the presentation. So it is the skill of the presenter to ensure that we are stopping the presentation before time by removing some non-relevant or not that emergency kind of content in between, so that unsaid kind of content are unknown for all the presentation. They are not worried about this kind of untold kind of information. They won't be worried about what are the things left also. So, but if you take longer time and if you go in a hurry, it's an indirect information given to the audience that you are leaving so many things. Okay, so that way you have to plan. Now, one more information I will tell you. It's very important that you have to give gratefulness to the cooperation of the audience. So I should also thank you all for the cooperation you have rendered so far. So I'm on time. I'm finishing my presentation. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Take care.